You think you're making your own choices, but what if the crowd is pulling the strings? Invisible forces shape how you act, speak, and even who you believe you are. In this video, we expose the hidden psychology of group pressure and how it silently rewrites identity. Chapter 1: The Silent Orchestra. You walk into a room, nobody says a word, yet you already know how to behave. The way people sit, the way they glance at each other, the rhythm of silence, it all whispers instructions. Without realizing it, you adjust your posture, your tone, even your thoughts. This is the silent orchestra of group pressure. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it plays softly, invisibly, and you fall into tune. The crowd doesn't need to speak because you've already learned the melody. Think about the last time you laughed at a joke you didn't find funny or nodded along to an opinion you didn't believe. That wasn't you, it was the orchestra playing through you. Psychologists have studied this for decades. Solomon Asch, famous for his conformity experiments, once said that we have found the tendency to conformity in our society so strong that reasonably intelligent and well-meaning young people are willing to call white black is a matter of concern. His words remind us that the invisible crowd can bend reality itself. The orchestra works in layers. First, it sets the tempo with small cues. Someone sighs, someone smiles, someone frowns. Then it builds harmony as more people align with those signals. Finally, it crescendos, and you find yourself swept into the music, even if you never wanted to play. This isn't weakness, it's survival. Humans are wired to belong. Thousands of years ago, being excluded from the group meant danger. So our brains evolved to detect the slightest signs of rejection and to adjust quickly. That instinct still lives in us today, even though the threats are no longer wolves in the dark, but awkward silences in a meeting or raised eyebrows at a party. But here's the twist. The orchestra doesn't just shape how you act, it shapes who you are. Every time you bend to fit in, you carve a new groove in your identity. Over time, those grooves become deep, and the person you think you are may be nothing more than the echo of the crowd. Imagine a student in class who secretly loves art but hides it because everyone else praises science. Slowly, the orchestra rewrites their identity. They stop drawing, stop dreaming, and start believing they were never meant to be an artist. The silent music has stolen their song. And yet, there's something hauntingly beautiful about this invisible symphony. It connects us, binds us, makes us feel part of something larger. The danger lies not in hearing the music, but in forgetting that it's playing. When you forget, you lose the ability to choose your own notes. That's why awareness is power. The moment you notice the orchestra, you can decide whether to play along or step aside. You can laugh at the joke because you truly find it funny, not because silence would feel heavier. You can nod at the opinion because it resonates with you, not because you fear standing out. Think about your own life. How many of your choices were yours, and how many were borrowed from the crowd? The clothes you wear, the way you speak, the dreams you chase, are they your melody or the orchestra's? If this resonates with you, pause for a moment. This channel is dedicated to exploring these hidden forces, the ones shaping identity beneath the surface. By subscribing, you join a journey of awareness where we uncover the invisible strings and learn how to cut them without losing connection. Hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss the next steps in this exploration. Because the orchestra doesn't stop. It plays in families, in workplaces, in friendships, in cultures. It plays when you scroll through social media, when you sit in a cafe, when you walk down the street. The music is everywhere. And the only way to resist is to hear it clearly. The silent orchestra is not about villains or heroes. It's about us, all of us, caught in the same rhythm. Some dance willingly, some stumble, some break free, but the melody continues, shaping identities one note at a time. And here's the question that lingers. If the orchestra is always playing, how do you know which part of you is truly yours? Chapter 2, Masks in the Mirror. You wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and see yourself, or at least you think you do. But the truth is, the reflection staring back is rarely just you. It's a version shaped by the people you expect to meet, the roles you're about to play, and the silent demands of the crowd. Every day we slip into masks. Some are subtle, like the polite smile you wear at work. Others are heavier, like the confident persona you put on when you feel insecure inside. These masks aren't lies, they're survival tools. They help us navigate the invisible rules of society. Yet, over time, they can blur the line between who we are and who we pretend to be. Imagine walking into a party. You might feel tired, quiet, maybe even sad. But the moment you step through the door, you adjust. You laugh louder, you stand taller, you tell stories you wouldn't share alone. The mask slides on effortlessly, and suddenly you're not just yourself, you're the version the crowd expects. Masks are mirrors. They reflect not only what others want to see, but also what we fear they might reject. If you've ever hidden your true opinion because you worried it would sound strange, you've worn a mask. If you've ever dressed differently to blend in, you've worn a mask. If you've ever smiled when you wanted to cry, you've worn a mask. The danger isn't in wearing masks. The danger is forgetting they're masks at all. When you forget, you start believing the performance is your identity. You convince yourself that the loud laugh, the polished words, the carefully chosen outfit, that's who you are. And slowly, the authentic self fades into the background. Think about the masks you wear in different places. At work, maybe you're the reliable professional. With friends, you're the easygoing joker. With family, you're the dutiful child. Each mask fits its stage, and each one feels natural in the moment. But when you step back, you realize how many versions of yourself exist and how few of them feel truly yours. This isn't just about social pressure, it's about the deep human need to belong. We crave acceptance, and masks are the tickets we use to enter the crowd. They protect us from rejection, shield us from judgment, and give us a sense of safety. But they also cost us something precious: authenticity. Authenticity is fragile. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it whispers quietly, waiting for you to notice. And when the masks pile up, authenticity gets buried. You might feel restless, disconnected, or even hollow without knowing why. That emptiness is the voice of the self, muffled beneath layers of performance. Picture a person standing in front of a wall of mirrors. Each reflection shows them wearing a different mask. Confident leader, obedient follower, charming friend, silent observer. The real face is hidden somewhere behind the glass, but it's hard to tell which reflection is closest to the truth. That's the paradox of masks. They both reveal and conceal. The crowd doesn't ask you to wear masks directly. It doesn't hand them to you. Instead, it creates an atmosphere where masks feel necessary. Silence, glances, expectations, they all push you toward the costume rack. And once you've chosen a mask, the crowd rewards you with belonging. That reward is powerful enough to keep you wearing it, even when it hurts. But masks aren't permanent. They can be removed. The first step is noticing them. When you catch yourself laughing louder than you feel, pause. When you hear yourself agreeing just to avoid conflict, pause. When you dress or speak in ways that feel foreign, pause. Each pause is a crack in the mask, a glimpse of the face beneath. The second step is courage. Removing a mask means risking rejection. It means showing the crowd a version of yourself that might not fit their expectations. That risk feels terrifying, but it's also liberating. Because once you stand without the mask, you discover that belonging doesn't have to mean pretending. The third step is practice. Authenticity isn't a single act, it's a habit. It grows stronger each time you choose honesty over performance, each time you let your true voice speak. Slowly, the masks lose their grip, and the face in the mirror becomes clearer. Masks in the mirror remind us of the tension between identity and conformity. They show how easily we bend to fit the crowd and how hard it is to stand alone. But they also reveal the possibility of freedom. Because beneath every mask, there's a face waiting to be seen not by the crowd, but by you. And here's the question that lingers. When you look in the mirror tomorrow, will you see the mask or the person beneath it? Chapter 3: Breaking the Invisible Thread. The crowd is always there. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's silent, but it never disappears. Its presence is like a thread woven through your life, connecting you to expectations, traditions, and invisible rules. You feel it when you hesitate before speaking, when you dress for approval, when you silence a thought that might stand out. The thread is subtle, but it binds tightly. Breaking that thread doesn't mean rejecting the world or walking away from people. It means learning to stand inside the crowd without losing yourself. It means choosing connection without surrendering identity. And that is harder than it sounds, because the thread is woven into every part of us. Think about the moments when you felt most alive. Chances are those were times when you acted from your own truth, not from the crowd's script. Maybe it was when you spoke an unpopular opinion, when you pursued a dream others doubted, or when you revealed a side of yourself you usually hide. In those moments, the thread loosened and you felt free. But freedom isn't permanent. The crowd pulls back quickly. It whispers, "Don't risk it. Don't stand out. Don't break the rhythm." And so the thread tightens again. That's why breaking it requires more than a single act. It requires a shift in how you see yourself. The first step is awareness. You can't cut what you don't see. Begin by noticing the thread in everyday life. Notice when you laugh because others laugh. When you agree because silence feels heavy. When you hide because honesty feels dangerous. Each moment of awareness is a light shining on the thread. The second step is choice. Once you see the thread, you can decide whether to follow it or not. Sometimes you'll choose to align with the crowd, and that's fine. Belonging is not the enemy. The danger lies in never choosing at all and letting the thread pull you without question. Choice is the blade that weakens the thread. The third step is courage. Breaking the thread means risking discomfort. It means standing in silence while others laugh, speaking when others stay quiet, or showing vulnerability when masks feel safer. Courage doesn't erase fear, it moves through it, and each act of courage frays the thread a little more. Imagine a person surrounded by misty figures, each tugging at invisible strings tied to their arms. Slowly, the person begins to cut the strings one by one. At first, they stumble, unsure of how to move without guidance. But as more strings fall away, their movements become freer, more authentic. The crowd is still there, but the person is no longer bound. breaking the thread doesn't mean isolation. It means redefining connection. Instead of belonging through masks, you belong through authenticity. Instead of harmony through silence, you create harmony through honesty. The crowd doesn't vanish, it transforms. It becomes a space where individuality and connection coexist. This transformation is not instant. It's a process of trial and error, of stepping forward and stepping back. Sometimes you'll wear the mask again. Sometimes you'll feel the thread tighten. That's part of the journey. What matters is the direction toward freedom, toward authenticity, toward a self that is not rewritten by invisible pressure. Think about the ripple effect. When you break the thread, others notice. Your courage gives them permission to loosen their own strings. Your authenticity inspires them to remove their masks. Slowly, the crowd itself changes. It becomes less of an orchestra demanding conformity and more of a gathering where each person plays their own melody. The invisible thread is powerful, but it is not unbreakable. It thrives on silence, on unawareness, on fear. Once you see it, once you choose, once you act with courage, the thread begins to unravel. And with each unraveling, your identity becomes clearer, stronger, more your own. So the question remains, will you let the thread guide your steps, or will you cut it and walk freely? The crowd will always be there, but freedom is possible. It begins with awareness, grows with choice, and blossoms with courage. And when the thread finally breaks, you don't lose the crowd, you find yourself within it.